Alright, hello guys. So, ang i-discuss natin sa video na ito is about correction of errors. Now, ang first agenda natin is to discuss the nature of errors. No? Bago tayo dumating sa mga applications, dapat alam muna natin kung ano ibig sabihin ng errors in accounting sense. Kung makikita natin dito, ang haba nung definition ng error, no? Pero ang ibig lang sabihin yan ay mga errors ay omissions and misstatements for one or more periods. So, pag sinabi nating errors, ito yung mga pagkakamali, di ba? Pero hindi lang pang isang taon, hindi lang pang 2 taon, one or more periods kasi, no? Okay. So, what are the inclusions under the definition of errors? Number 1, nandyan si mathematical errors or yung pagkakamali sa pag-a-add or sa pag-subtract. Number 2, misapplication of accounting policies and estimates. So when we say misapplication, nagkamali ka sa pag-a-apply ng accounting policy ng company mo or ng accounting estimates. Number 3, oversights or misinterpretation of facts. Nagkamali ka ng pagkakaintindi, no? Then, number 4, fraud. So, ito yung mga inclusions natin under the definition of errors in the accounting sense. Next, ano ang treatment natin sa errors? Ano ang ginagawa natin pag na-discover natin may pagkakamali sa financial statements natin? Anong sabi ng accounting standards natin? The company must correct, take note material errors lang, no? Material errors. So, kapag ang error na na-discover mo ay maliit lang in amount, kahit wag mo nang pansinin, okay na yon. Kasi, ang kailangan lang naman natin ay itatama yung mga significant errors. Okay, so how do we correct? How do we correct these material errors? Retrospectively. When we say retrospectively, yung mga prior periods, no, isasali mo or idadamay mo rin sa pag-correct nung mga errors. Okay? Lahat ba ng prior period, sir? No. Hindi. Ang kailangan mo lang na prior period usually na i-correct ay yung preceding prior year. So, let's say, may na-discover kang error during the year 2020 pero yung error na yun na-commit pala nung 2019 pa, no? So, ibig sabihin yan, pati yung 2019, i-correct mo yung error doon. Okay? Tapos, 2020 rin, of course, kasama yung 2020 sa pagko-correct, no? Retrospectively, meaning, pabalik. Okay? Ayan. Now, how do you present the correction of a prior period error? It will be presented as part of the adjustments of the beginning balance of the retained earnings of the earliest period presented. So, let's say, ang financial statements mo, nag-present ka ng December 31, 2020 and December 31, 2019. Anong ibig sabihin ng beginning balance of retained earnings of the earliest period presented? Answer natin ay nasa gitna nila, which is the January 1, 2020 retained earnings. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng beginning balance of retained earnings of the earliest period presented. Gets? Nasa gitna nila. Alright? Ayan. Kasi usually, ang mga financial statements, comparative ang kanilang presentation. Kaya yung immediately preceding year, nasasama pa sa presentation niya, no? So, kapag ikaw ay magpe-present na ng December 31, 2021 financial statements, kasama pa yung December 31, 2020 financial statements, no? For comparative purposes. Okay, so now, let's discuss the different types of errors. There are 3 types of errors, guys, no? Number 1, income statement errors. Number 2, balance sheet errors. And number 3, the combination of the first 2 types or mixed errors. Okay? So, isa-isahin natin itong i-discuss sa mga susunod na slides. Okay? Sa income statement, balance sheet, mixed errors. Okay. Now, before we go into our next slide, tandaan nyo, ang mixed errors, dalawang klase din yan. Nandyan yung counterbalancing errors and non-counterbalancing errors. Okay? Income statement errors muna tayo, guys, no? Dapat maintindihan muna natin kung ano ba tong mga income statement errors. When we say income statement errors, these are errors affecting, take note, income and expense accounts. Tama naman, pag sinabi natin income statement, ang nilalaman lang naman yan ay income and expenses, tama? Kaya, pag sinabing income statement errors, these are errors affecting income and expenses accounts. Okay? So, how do we account for income statement errors? Reclassifying entry, no? Kakailanganin natin ng reclassifying entry only if that error is discovered in the same year it is committed. Anong ibig niyang sabihin doon? Let's say may na-discover kang error, no? Ang current year mo 2020 and at the same time na-commit mo yung error na yon during 2020 na din. Okay? So ano example nun? Ano example netong ganitong klaseng error? Let's say, meron kang advertising expense na 100 pesos, pero hindi mo siya pinasok as advertising expense. Pinasok mo siya as supplies expense. So, how do you reclassify that entry? No? Pinasok mo kasi siya as part of supplies expense na dapat pang advertising, so you must debit advertising expense, credit supplies expense. Reclassify lang para tumama. Gets? Ganun lang, no? Paano kung yung error na na-discover mo ngayon ay na-commit pala prior period? May kasunod tayo dyan, no? If the error is discovered in a subsequent year, wala ka ng reclassifying entry. Bakit? Kasi yung account last year ay na-close na sa capital, no? Na tatandaan nyo, no? Kapag yung mga income and expenses, 'di ba? Every year kino-close 'yan sa sa retained earnings or sa capital account. Kaya wala ka nang kailangang reclassifying entry kapag ganito ang case mo, no? Kasi yung related expense or income or expense account last year close na. Gets? Ayan. Next one. Balance sheet errors. Pag sinabi naman nating balance sheet errors, ano ba ang nilalaman ng balance sheet? Assets, liabilities, capital accounts. No? So, pag sinabi natin balance sheet errors, these are errors affecting asset, liability, and capital accounts. So, how do we account for balance sheet errors? Reclassifying entry pa rin. Okay? Now, unlike sa income statement errors, kakailanganin mo lang yung reclassifying entry if the error discovered is committed in the same year. Pag balance sheet errors, whether the error is committed this year or in a prior year, kakailanganin mo talaga i-reclassify yan. Bakit? Kasi ang mga balance sheet accounts ay real accounts. So meaning, nakikarry over yan, hindi yan nako-close. Gets ba? Hindi yan nako-close every year unlike income statement accounts. Okay? So, let's say, ano ba ang example ng balance sheet errors? Let's say, meron ka dapat accounts receivable worth 100, pero pinasok mo siya as part of notes receivable. So, para itama yung ganyang klase ng error, just simply debit accounts receivable, credit notes receivable, 100 pesos. Ni-reclassify mo lang siya. Whether the error is committed this year or last year, yun lang. Reclassify ka lang. Gets? Okay. So, malinaw tayo so far sa two types, no? Eto na. Si mixed errors. Okay? So, pag sinabi nating mixed errors, combination siya ng balance sheet and income statement errors, no? These are errors affecting both the balance sheet and income statement. Tandaan nyo, may dalawang klase tayo ng mixed errors. Counterbalancing errors and non-counterbalancing errors. Discuss muna natin kung ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng counterbalancing at ng non-counterbalancing. Okay, so, Pag sinabi nating counterbalancing errors, no? These are errors, kahit hindi mo siya na-discover, automatically magko-correct yan in the next periods. Kumbaga, ano siya? Parang offsetting errors, no? Self-correcting errors, yan ang tinatawag nila dito. Pag sinabi mong counterbalancing errors, these are self-correcting errors. Kahit hindi mo na-discover, sir, yes. Kaya siya tinatawag na counterbalancing errors kasi kahit hindi mo siya na-discover, bigla-bigla na lang siyang tatama in the next accounting periods. Okay? Now, ganito ang flow natin, no? Tapusin muna natin yung counterbalancing errors bago si non-counterbalancing, no? So, ito yung nature ng counterbalancing errors. Next one natin, effects. Ano ang effects ng counterbalancing natin? Take note, pag income statement ang pag-uusapan, both periods, mali na daw yan. Mali na yung dalawang periods ng income statement natin. Next, pag balance sheet naman ang pinag-uusapan natin, at the end of the first period lang ang magiging mali. Pagdating sa dulo, or at the end of the second year, or the succeeding year, biglang tatama na siya. Yan ang counterbalancing error. Now, sir, akala ko ba bigla-bigla siyang tatama? Oo, pero pagdating kasi sa income statement, di ba yung mga income and expenses, kino-close yan every year. So, kung may mali ka last year, madadama niya yung next year. Pero dahil pinagsama mo yung dalawang mali na to, automatically mag-offset yan. Sa dulo, biglang tatama yan. Yun nga lang, yung income statement mo last year, this year, mali. Pero yung kaduluhan nila, tatama. Yung, kumbaga, summary nila, tatama na. Yun nga lang, yung first year at yung succeeding year, magiging mali. Okay? Ayan. So, sa balance sheet, di ko pala napindot kanina, no? Yung balance sheet natin, at the end of the first year, mali. Pero, ito nga, yung sabi ko, pagdating mo ng succeeding period mo, biglang tatama na yan sa balance sheet. Okay? So, kung gusto natin i-summarize yan, ganito lang ang magiging kalalabasan, no? So, let's say, meron kang income statement at balance sheet. Year 1, Year 2. Yung income statement mo, parehong mali yan for years 1 and year 2. No? Pero pag balance sheet mo, ito lang ang magmamali. Tapos pagdating dito, tatama na siya. Yan ang ating summary for counterbalancing errors effects. Gets? Magbigay tayo ng mga examples. Ano ba examples ng counterbalancing errors? Nandyan si accruals, ayan yung mga accrued expense and accrued income. Deferrals, prepaid expenses and unearned income, no? Inventory errors. Okay? So, yan ang mga examples ng counterbalancing errors. Next one. Non-counterbalancing errors naman. Ano ba itong mga non-counterbalancing errors na to? Pag sinabi nating non-counterbalancing errors, ito yung kabaliktaran ni counterbalancing errors. Hanggat hindi mo na-detect ito, hindi siya tatama. Kailangan mo ma-detect para maitama itong mga ganitong klase ng errors. No? Next, effects. Pag income statement pag-uusapan natin for non-counterbalancing errors, yung period ng income statement kung kailan mo na-commit yung error will be incorrect. Pero yung succeeding niya, hindi niya na maaapektuhan. Nakuha nyo ba? Yun ang ibig niya sabihin non-counterbalancing errors. Kung kailan mo na-commit yung error, doon magiging mali ang income statement. Okay? Pero yung kasunod niyang taon, wala na. Hindi na maapektuhan ng error na yon. Kumbaga, naiwan yung error na yon sa period na to. No? Next. Pagka balance sheet naman ang pag-uusapan natin, no? The year of error and the succeeding years will be incorrect until that error is corrected. Kumbaga, magkabaliktad silang dalawa. Nakuha? So, summarize natin. income statement, balance sheet. Year 1, year 2. So, pagdating sa income statement mo, mali itong year 1 na ito. Okay? Mali na year 1. Pero, yung year 2 niya ay hindi na siya maaapektuhan. Okay? Kumbaga, naiwan yung error sa year 1. Pag balance sheet, mali, mali. Until you correct that one. So, okay tayo. Nakita nyo yung pagkakaiba nilang dalawa. Okay? Now, bigay tayo ng example. Ano ba example ng non-counterbalancing errors? Depreciation. Pag nagkamali ka sa depreciation in this year, tapos natama mo naman siya sa second year, yung error na iwan mo this year. Okay? Pero take note hindi lang siya limited sa depreciation, may iba pang non-counterbalancing error. Pero similar yung kanyang effect sa depreciation. Okay? Bigyan ko kayo ng guides in correcting counterbalancing errors. Usually, ang focus lang naman natin dito will be the profit, no? Itatama lang natin yung net income or net loss ng company. Ayan. So, let's say yung year 1, that is the year when the error occurred, and year 2 will be the subsequent year. Tapos, titignan natin yung mga omissions ng accruals and deferrals, no? Tingnan nyo Pag sinabi nating omission of accrued expense, meaning, hindi mo siya ni-record. Okay? Hindi mo siya ni-record sa tamang period, no? Pag sinabi kasi nating accrued expense, these are expenses already incurred but not yet paid. Usually, ang trigger point ng mga entries natin sa libro ay magre-record lang tayo ng expense kapag may lumabas na cash. Pag walang lumabas na cash, hindi tayo magre-record na expense. Gets ba? So, pag sinabi nating omission of accrued expense, dapat ito ay ni-record mo ng year 1. Kaso, since hindi pa siya bayad, hindi mo ni-record. Okay? So, dahil hindi mo siya ni-record as expense ng year 1, the expenses will be understated and the profit will be overstated. Okay? So, pag naging overstated ang profit, anong gagawin natin para tumama yung profit? Magma-minus tayo. Kasi kulang yung kulang yung expenses mo. Tama ba ako? So, magdadagdag ka na expense, mababawasan profit mo. Okay? Next. Pagdating ng year 2, doon mo lang na i-record etong si accrued expense kasi yun lang or doon ka lang nagbayad related dito. Kaya, nag-record ka ng expense ng year 2 na dapat ay expense ng year 1. Diba? So, pagdating ng year 2, overstated naman yung expenses, understated ang profit. So, paano mo itatama ang ganitong klase? That is, mag-a-add back ka sa profit, babawasan mo yung expenses. Clear? Kumbaga, connected siya sa fundamentals nyo, no? So, dapat alam nyo pa rin yung mga nature ng ganitong klaseng accounts, no? Yung accrued expense, dapat ni-record yan in the year of incurrence, not in the year it was paid. Nakita? Okay, nakukuha naman. Yeah. Next one, accrued income. Pag sinabi nating accrued income, income already earned but not yet collected. Di ba ang sabi ko kanina, ang trigger point natin ay yung cash in or cash out. Pag may cash in, dun ka magre-record ng income. Pag walang cash in, hindi ka magre-record ng income. Ganyan naman ang case dito sa accrued income natin. Let's say, sa year 1, na-earn mo na yung income. Yun nga lang, hindi mo pa siya ni-record kasi wala namang pumasok na pera. Tama? So, ano mangyayari sa profit mo pag ganun? Magiging understated ang profit mo kasi understated ang income mo. Kuha nyo? So, kapag understated income mo, ma-understate din yung profit. Anong gagawin mo para tumama yung profit? Mag-a-add back ka. Okay? Ganyan ang accrued income. Next, pagdating ng year 2, doon mo na-collecta yung pera, doon mo ni-record yung income na pang year 1. Di ano nangyari sa year 2? Ma-overstate naman yung income, consequently, ma-overstate naman yung profit. So, anong gagawin natin para tumama yung sa year 2? Magma-minus ka na. Gets? Kumbaga, nililipat mo lang, binabalik mo lang silang lahat sa year 1. Ganun lang ang ating analysis dito. Okay? Ganun lang. Ibabalik mo lang sila sa tamang period. Kaya siya tinatawag na correction of errors. Prepaid expense. Ito, medyo lalalim, no? Pag sinabi nating omission of prepaid expense, hindi mo, bago yan. Pag sinabi nating prepaid expense, these are expenses already paid but not yet incurred. Since pag sinabi natin prepaid expense, maglalabas ka ng pera in advance. So, dahil naglabas ka ng pera, ano usually ang nangyayari? Pinapasok mo siya as part of your expenses or expense method. So, ano nangyayari kapag pinapasok mo agad sa expenses yung mga prepaid expense pero hindi pa talaga na-incur? Ma-overstate yung expense, ma-understate ang profit mo. Dahil understated ang profit mo, ano ang gagawin natin dito? That is, mag-a-add back ka, 'di ba? Kasi ang expenses mo overstated eh. So kailangan mong bawasan yung expenses mo, tapos ang consequence niya sa profit, add back or magdadagdag siya. Okay? Ganun lang. Ganun lang yung analysis natin for prepaid expense. Okay? Next. Dahil ni-record mo siya as part of the expenses of year 1 pero dapat year 2 expenses pa siya, yung year 2 mo, magbabawas ka na. Okay? Kumbaga, yung expense na ni-record mo sa year 1, dito mo siya ililipat naman. Year 2 naman. Pabaliktad pag deferrals. Nakuha ba ako? Tandaan nyo, ang prepaid expense, let's say, sa year 1, dapat asset. Pero ginawa mo expense, kaya may error ka sa year 1. Sa year 2, dapat expense siya pero hindi ka na nag-record ng expense kasi naging expense siya ng year 1. So, nilipat mo lang siya. Nakuha? Ganun lang yung analysis natin for counterbalancing errors. Last one. Omission of unearned income. Ano bang ibig sabihin ng unearned income? These are cash already collected but not yet earned. Tignan nyo nakolekta yung cash. So, may cash in. So, ano usually gagawin ni accountant pag may natanggap na cash? Gagawin niyang income. Therefore, ano mangyayari sa year 1 pag ginawa niyang income instead of liability? Overstated income, overstated profit. So, paano mo itatama year 1 mo? Magma-minus ka. Kasi, sobra-sobra yung profit mo, di bawasan mo yung profit mo. At saka, kailan dapat ginagawang income yan? Kailan dapat ginagawang income yan? Kapag na-render na yung service or na-deliver mo yung goods. Now, ang assumption natin, na-deliver or na-render yung service or goods sa year 2. So, dapat year 2 pa siya naging income. Tama? Pero, dahil na-i-record mo siya as income of year 1, wala ka nang i-record sa year 2. Wala kang ni-record sa year 2. Tama? So, paano natin itatama yung year 2? Magdadagdag ka ng income sa kanya. Nilipat mo papunta dito. Yung income na ni-record mo ng year 1 na dapat pang year 2. Ayos? Medyo nakakapang ng utak no? Okay? Nakakapang. Pero ito lang isipin nyo. Ganito. How do you compute profit? Income minus expenses equals profit or loss. Okay? Paano magkakaroon ng profit? Kapag mas malaki ang income mo. Paano ka magkakaroon ng loss? Kapag mas malaki naman ang expenses mo. Okay? Take note. What if your income is overstated? Anong effect sa profit or loss natin? That is, overstated. Pag ang income mo naman understated, na-understate din yung expenses, yung profit or loss mo, di ba? So, kung makikita nyo, ang relationship ng income sa profit or loss ay direct relationship. Pag sinabing direct, magkapareho sila ng epekto. Okay? Next. What if your expenses is overstated? Ano mangyayari sa profit or loss mo? Ma-understate yan. Diba? Tapos, paano naman kung understated ang iyong expenses? Magiging overstated naman ang profit or loss mo. Ayos? Okay. So, ganito, no? Ano naman tawag natin sa relationship between the expenses and the profit? That is, inverse relationship. Pag sinabi nating inverse, magkabaliktad sila ng effect. Okay? Ganun lang. Yun lang ang iisipin natin dito sa sa pagko-correct ng counterbalancing errors attributable to accruals and deferrals. Alright? Okay. Problem number 1 tayo. Meron tayong handout dyan, no? Naka-upload naman siya dito sa link na nakalagay sa description natin. Okay, problem number 1. Compute for the corrected profit or loss ng 2019, 2020. Number 3, determining the effect of the errors on the retained earnings on January 1, 2021. Number 4, corrected profit or loss for 2021. And the number 5, effect of the errors on the company's working capital. Okay, so ganito gagawin natin, guys. No? May table tayong pinrepare dito. Ano ang magiging laman ng mga tables na to? Okay. Number 1, yung 2019 profit natin. Profit or loss pala, no? Next, 2020. Okay. Next. Instead na itutuloy natin ito sa number 3, jump tayo sa number 4 muna. Nakuha? Ito muna ang kukumputin natin for now para hindi tayo malito. Yung numbers 1, 2, and 4 muna tayo. Then later na yung numbers 3 and 5. Gets? Di ba mabilis yan mamaya? Ready na? Okay. So ano yung first error sa number 1 natin? The first audit of the FS of Bridge Corporation was made for the year ended December 31, 2021. In reviewing the books, the auditor discovered that certain adjustments had either been overlooked or improperly recorded at the end of the 3 years. Omissions and other failures are summarized. Okay. Ano yung first error natin? Salaries and wages payable. Omitted. Anong ibig sabihin pag na-omit? Hindi siya na-i-record when it is incurred. So, lagay natin siya dyan, no? Ayan. So, ang first na gagawin natin, guys, is ilalagay natin yung reported P&L muna. Nasaan yung reported P&L? Nasa dulo. Magkano reported P&L natin ng 2019? 90,000 loss. 2020, 140,000 profit. Then 2021, 320,000 profit. So yan ang starting point natin, and the first error will be the salaries and wages payable. Okay? Itatama natin yung 3 taon niya. Ready na? Okay. So pag sinabi nating omitted yung salaries and wages payable, hindi mo siya ni-record sa period na na-incur siya. Na-i-record lang siya in the period it was paid. Okay? Magkano yung omitted salaries and wages payable 2019? 150,000. So, kapag ganyan, guys, no? Pagka ganyan, omitted ang payable mo, ibig sabihin, nag-omit ka ng expense ng 2019. So, dahil understated ang expenses mo, overstated yung profit. So, anong gagawin natin? Magbabawas ka ng 150,000 for 2019. Then, sa 2020, since ni-record siya as expenses of 2020 na dapat pang 2019, mag-a-add back ka. Kumbaga, sinusundan niya rito ang guides natin kanina. Okay? So, ganyan ang gagawin niyo sa 2019. Ayan, no? Counterbalance siya. Di ba? May naka-negative, may naka-positive. Ano effect? 0. Okay? Ganun lang gagawin nyo hanggang matapos to. 2020, naka-omit ka ulit ng salaries and wages payable worth 130,000. Anong gagawin natin? Kapag na-omit ng expense, mag-record ka ng expense ng 2020 mo. Pagdating ng 2021, binayaran yan. Kaya dyan siya na-i-record. Diba? So, dahil na-i-record siya as part of 2021 expenses na dapat pang 2020, add back mo. Kumbaga, nilipat mo pa pabalik ng 2020. Ganon din yung kanina. From 2020, nilipat mo pang 2019. Okay? 2021, the last one. Nag-omit ulit ng 145,000 expense. Di mag-record ka lang. Hanggang dyan lang tayo. Okay? Hindi na tayo aabot ng 2022. Kita nyo yung trend. Deduct, add, deduct, add, deduct. Yan yung guide natin kanina. Ayos? Okay? So, ganyan lang gagawin nyo pag nag-omit ng accrued expense, ha? Ganyan lang gagawin nyo pag nag-omit ng accrued expense. Next. Interest receivable. Ganon din. 3 taon yan. Pag nag-omit ka ng interest receivable, ano ang ibig sabihin? Omitted ang accrued income. Omitted ang accrued income, di ba? So, pag omitted ang accrued income, anong ibig sabihin nun? Hindi mo siya ni-record in the year it is earned. Alright? So, ganun lang. Pag interest receivable, kabaliktaran naman ito ng accrued expense. Sa tingin mo, kailan na i-record to? Tingnan nyo yung 2019. 45,000. Hindi siya na-i-record ng 2019 kasi hindi mo pa natatanggap yung pera, tama? Pero, kailan matatanggap yung pera? Most likely, by the next year, di ba? So, dahil natanggap yung pera ng 2020, doon lang na-i-record ito. So, ano gagawin natin? That is, record mo siya ng 2019, tanggalin mo siya ng 2020. Okay? Sa 2020, ganun din gagawin mo. Yung 35,000, hindi na-i-record ng 2020 kasi hindi natanggap yung pera, pero na-earn na kasi siya. Na-i-record lang siya as income noong 2021 when it was collected. So, ang gagawin natin is, record mo yan ng pang 2020, tanggalin mo siya ng pang 2021. Then, yung 2021, ganun lang din, record mo lang siya. Okay? Ganun lang gagawin nyo. Tingnan nyo yung trend, ha? Add minus, add minus, add. Ganon din yung guide natin kanina. Okay? Malinaw, ha? Ganyan yung error correction natin when it comes to accrued income. So, tatandaan nyo lang, ang accrued income, income earned but not yet collected. Kaya most likely, nare-record lang siya pag nakolekta siya, which is the subsequent year. Ayos? Ganon lang. Ang accrued expense naman, expenses already incurred but not yet paid. Mare-record lang siya as expenses kapag ito ay binayaran. Kaya, tinatama natin siya dito. Okay? Next error natin is the omission of the prepaid insurance. Pag sinabi natin prepaid insurance, prepaid expenses. Ganon din, 2019 to 2021 gagawin natin dito. Tingnan nyo, ha? Pag sinabi natin prepaid expense, expenses already paid but not yet incurred. Anong ibig sabihin ng omissions na to? Yung 64,000, hindi mo siya pinasok as prepaid expense. In fact, ni-record mo siya as expense. Bakit? Kasi naglabas ka ng pera. Okay? Pero, yung 64,000 na yan, dapat hindi pa expenses ng 2019 kasi prepaid pa ang status. So, kailan dapat siya mag-expense? Next year, 2020. So, ano gagawin natin? Add back mo ng 2019, tapos gagawin mo siya ng expenses ng 2020. Okay? Sa 2020 naman, nag-omit ka ulit ng prepaid insurance na 51,000. Ginawa mo expense ng 2020 pero dapat expenses pa yan ng 2021. So, ano gagawin natin? Add back, then gagawin mo siyang expense ng 2021. Dini-defer mo, kumbaga. Okay? Then, ganun din sa 2021. Add back mo lang. Alright? Tapos sa 2022, alam nating ima-minus natin yan. Kaso hindi na tayo abot ng 2022. Imagine na lang natin. Okay? Tignan nyo yung trend, ha? Add minus, add minus, add. Yun pa rin yung guide natin. Pabaliktad siya. Okay? Pabaliktad siya. Next. Advances from customers. Ano ba ang ibig sabihin or ano ba ang pagkakaintindi natin pag sinabi nating advances from customers? These are cash collected in advance. Diba? O, tignan natin yung note 1. Ano ba nangyari? Ba't na-omit itong mga to? Cash received from customers had been recorded as sales but should have been recognized as advances from customers since goods were not shipped until the following year. Kailan ba dapat natin nire-record as sales yung mga merchandise natin? Kapag ito ay napadala na sa customers. Pero ano ginawa ni client? Ginawa niya na agad sales dahil natanggap niya yung pera. Mukhang pera si client, di ba? So, anong gagawin natin sa mga to? That is, kailangan nating tanggalin as sales in the year of error, tapos gagawin natin siyang sales sa susunod na taon. Okay? O, tignan nyo ha. Yung 78,000, ginawa mong income or sales ng 2019 pero hindi pa dapat, kaya pakitanggal. Yung 78,000 na yan, pang 2020 kasi yan. Kaya add mo siya sa 2020. Since the goods sold on 2019 ay na-ship na ng 2020. Gets? Ganun lang ha. Next. Yung advances from customers na 94,000, ginawang income ng 2020 pero hindi pa na-ship, kaya dapat tatanggalin natin. Kailan na-ship? 2021. Kaya dun lang dapat siya maging income. Ayos? Oh, last one. 102,000, ginawa na namang sales ng 2021 pero hindi pa kasi na-ship, kaya dapat tanggalin mo muna. Kasi magiging income siya ng 2022. Okay? Ayun lang ha. Ganun lang gagawin nyo all the time. Ayos? Nakakasunod ba? Sige. Now, last one. Equipment. Tignan natin si note number 2. Capital expenditures had been recorded as repairs expense but should have been charged to equipment. Ano daw ibig sabihin? Ginawa mo expenses itong mga capital expenditures pero dapat kinapitalize mo siya as part of equipment. Oh, ano ang consequence pagka ganyan? Overstated yung mga expenses mo each year because of these capital expenditures. Tapos, understated yung equipment mo. Nakulangan siya ng capitalized expenditures. Diba? Ano pa ang effect? Maraming effect ito kasi. Ulitin ko ha. Number 1, overstated yung repairs expense because of erroneous expenses of capital expenditures. Number 2, understated yung equipment kasi hindi mo sila kinapitalize. Ano pa? Number 3, yung depreciation mo ay nadamay din because of this error. Maraming madadamay kasi. So, anong tawag natin sa ganitong klaseng error? Non-counterbalancing error. Okay? O, iyan na natin ha. Step by step. First, itama muna natin yung mga erroneous expenses. Okay? Itatama muna natin. So, paano yung itatama natin? Since naging expense yan in the first place, add back mo siya sa profit. 94,000, 87,000, 80,000. Okay? So, first step natin is tinama muna natin yung erroneous repairs expenses each year. Sir, tapos na ba tayo? Not yet. Meron pang isang error. Ano yan? Yung depreciation mo. Okay? Since etong mga capital expenditures ay dapat din-depreciate each year, dapat may depreciation din tayong i-correct. Tingnan nyo ha. Ano sabi? The depreciation rate is 10% per year but depreciation in the year of expenditure is to be recognized at 5%. So, ibig sabihin, etong mga amounts na ito, dapat, kung kailan mo sila binayaran, 5% mo na yung depreciation nila. Tapos, yung mga subsequent years nila, 10% na. Paano yun, sir? Tingnan nyo, ha. Si 94,000 muna ang gagalawin ko. Okay? Tingnan nyo. Kailan mo binayad yung 94,000? 2019. So, dapat, during 2019, 5% muna yung depreciation mo related to 94,000. Then, on the subsequent years, tig 10% na yung sa 94,000. Gets? Ganyan lang. Okay? O sir, bakit yung 94,000 mo pang 2019 pero nadama yung 2020 at 2021? Imagine niyo guys, cumulative kasi yung equipment. Pag kinapitalize mo, yearly nagde-depreciate din siya yung amount. Okay? So, etong tatlong kakalagay ko lang, related pa lang yan sa first capital expenditure. Wala pa yung second and third. O, next. 87,000, kailan mo binayaran? 2020. So, during 2020, 5% mo muna ang i-recognize mo na connected kay 87,000. Then, for the year 2021, 10% na niya. Nakuha, cumulative siya. Okay? Tuloy-tuloy. Alright? O, next. Last one, 2021. Nagbayad ka ng 80,000 capital expenditure in the year 2021. So, dapat 5% muna ang isasali mo dyan as depreciation. Alright, nakuha ba? Ayan. So, natapos natin yung pagko-correct ng mga profit or loss ng 2019 through 2021. O, pwede na nating computein yan. So, how much is the corrected or adjusted profit or loss 2019? So, computein nyo lang pababa yan, no? From 90,000 loss, adjust mo lang sila. Magkano yung, corrected? 119,700. Alright. 2020, 194,250. Okay? Then, for 2021, 342,900. Okay? So, yan yung mga sagot natin for numbers 1, number 2, number 4. Inuna na natin yung numbers 1, 2, and 4, no? Numbers 3 and 5, eto na. Kasunod na natin. O, next one. After numbers 1, 2, and 4, number 3 tayo. Ano tinatanong sa number 3? Effect of the errors on the RE January 1, 2021. Okay. Take note, ika-cut off mo hanggang dito lang. Pag tinanong ka sa number 3, cut off mo hanggang dito lang. Hanggang dyan ka lang muna. Para pag si number 3 tinatanong, hanggang dyan ka lang mag-a-analyze. Kasi take note, January 1, 2021 yan. So, hindi niya pa masasakop yung buong 2021. Kaya wag mo muna isali si 2021. Gets? Okay. Now, pag tinanong tayo, ano ba epekto ng errors? Ang gusto lang natin malaman, understated ba yung RE or overstated? Okay? Tingnan nyo ganito lang. Sa salaries and wages payable, yung 2019 error natin, na-offset na kaagad yan. Na-offset kaagad siya. Okay? So, dahil offset siya, wala na siyang epekto. Diba? Yan negative, positive, 0. Tapos na. Pero yung salaries and wages ng 2020 mo, hindi pa nagka-counterbalance, may epekto sa RE mo. Okay? Ganun lang. May epekto siya sa RE. Interest receivable, 2019 niya, wala na ulit effect. Okay? Wala na ulit yan, effect. Alright? Then, pagdating ng 2020, meron yan, 35,000. O next, prepaid insurance. 2019 error, wala na ring effect yan. Pero yung 2020 niya may epekto na hindi pa nagka-counterbalance, kaya nandyan siya. Okay? O, advances from customers, alam naman natin, wala pa ring effect. Pero yung 2020 niya meron na. Hindi pa nagka-counterbalance Okay? O, pagdating dito, sa non-counterbalancing error natin, mapapansin nyo, nagko-cumulate yung error. So, 94 plus 87, 181,000. O, diba? Tapos, pagdating sa omitted depreciation, 47 plus 94, okay. Then, yung 4,350. Ganyan ang case kapag non-counter balancing kasi. Ganyan ang case pag non-counter balancing. Gets? Ganun lang. Ano napansin nyo guys? Kinokopya lang natin yung epekto. Pag naka-negative siya ng 2020, no? Negative siya sa RE. That is because profit or loss ay kino-close sa retained earnings. So, kung babalikan niyo yung ano natin kanina, yung guide natin, 'di ba? Yung direct and inverse relationships. Ayan, siya ay makakatulong sa atin sa analysis natin. So, to answer number 3, what will be our answer? So, paki-summarize lang lahat ng to, no? From 130,000 negative up to negative 4,350, 24,550. Ito lang tatandaan nyo. Pag naka-positive yan, meaning understated. So, ang sagot natin for number 3 ay 24,550 understated. Understated yan. Malinaw tayo? So, number 3 natin, 24,550 understated. Pagka naka-negative naman yung resulting amount natin dito, meaning yan, overstated naman siya. Kailangan bawasan. Kaya kapag naka-positive to, meaning understated kasi kailangang dagdagan. Okay? So, that's your number 3. O, last one. Number 5 na tayo. Ano daw ang effect ng errors on the company's working capital? Okay. Dated ano yan? December 31, 2021. Oh, pag sinabi nating working capital, how do we compute for working capital? Working capital is equal to the difference between current assets, current liabilities. Okay? So, ito analysis natin guys ha. Si working capital, meron tayong current asset and current liabilities. Anong effect kapag ang current asset mo ay overstated or the current liability is understated? Ano naman effect kapag kabaliktaran? Understated yung current asset mo or overstated si current liability. Kaya pinagkatabi ko silang dalawa kasi pareho lang naman ang effect niyan. Okay? So, ano ang effect niyan? If the current asset is overstated, then the working capital is also overstated. Meaning, may direct relationship between the current asset and the working capital. Tapos, kung titignan nyo, if the current liability is understated, overstated yung working capital. Meaning, inverse naman ang relationship ng current liability kay working capital. Okay? O, ito yung guide natin ha. Teka, lagay ko na nga yung isa. Ayan. Then, the corresponding effects. So, dito, lagay ko lang to, no? Current assets minus current liabilities equals to working capital. If the current asset is overstated, working capital will be overstated too. If the current asset is understated, working capital will be understated too. Meron silang direct relationship. Pag ang current liability naman ay overstated, na-understate naman si working capital. Tapos, pag understated naman si current liability, overstated ang working capital. So, dito, meron ka na namang inverse relationship. Tignan nga natin kung consistent yung presentation natin. Okay. O, diba? Current asset is overstated and the current liability is understated. Pareho silang overstated si working capital. Pag overstated ng working capital, ano ang adjustment? Minus. Okay? O, next. Current asset under, current liability over, pareho silang understated working capital. So, what will be the adjustment to the working capital? Dagdag. Alright? Ganun lang. Ganun lang siya kasimple. So, gets ha? So, tignan natin kung ano ang kaya nating gawin dito. So, balik tayo kay salaries and wages payable. So, pag working capital, guys, hahanapin nyo lang lahat ng current items. Current asset or current liability. Ang tip ko lang, kapag nasa working capital na tayo, ang titignan nyo lang palagi ay si 2021. Lahat ng mga hindi pa nagre-reverse as of 2021, Ayan, nandyan yung mga current items natin. O, tignan nyo ha. Salaries and wages payable 2019, wala. Reverse na noong 2020, so wala yan. Yung salaries and wages payable 2020, kaka-reverse lang ng 2021, so wala kang current items dyan. Pero yung 2021 mong salaries and wages payable, meron. Di ba? So, kopyahin mo lang siya. Okay? Next, interest receivable. Is that current item? Yes, current asset. 2019-2020, na-reverse na, pero in 2021, meron pa. Okay? Ganyan lang. So, meron kang interest receivable current asset dito. Prepaid insurance, is that current item? Yes. Normally, yes. Oo. Yung prepaid insurance natin is normally a current item, no? So, anong gagawin natin sa mga to? Yung 2019-2020, wag nyo nang tignan yan kasi kaka-reverse lang yan, no? Yung 2021 lang ang titignan nyo. Kaya, add ka ng prepaid insurance sa working capital mo. Oh, advances from customers. Are these current items? Yes, current liability. Unearned income yan, guys, ha? Unearned income yan. Huwag nyo nang tignan yung mga 2019, 2020 dito. 2021 lang agad. Nakuha ba? Okay. Next. What about this erroneous repairs expenses and omitted depreciation? Are these current items? No. Kaya, wala silang effect sa working capital. So, sir, tapos na tayo? Yes. Summarize na lang natin. What would be the effect of the errors on the December 31, 2021 working capital? Answer? 173,000. Negative. Dahil negative yan, meaning overstated. So, that will be your answer for number 5. Okay? So far, natapos na natin si problem number 1. Mahaba agad yung proseso, no? Ayun. So, ito lang tatandaan nyo, guys. Unahin nyo na kaagad yung mga tinatanong na yearly profit or loss. Then, isunod nyo yung mga effects on the beginning RE, tapos huhulihin nyo yung working capital. Gets? Ayan. O, next one natin. Inventory-related errors naman. Inano ko kasi ito, kaya ko siya hiniwalay para mas maigting yung analysis natin, guys, no? Bakit? Kasi kung titignan nyo, ganito kasi. Marami kang titignan pag inventory-related errors, hindi lang isa ang titignan mo rito eh. In fact, 3 yung titignan mo eh. Beginning inventory, purchases, ending inventory. Diba? Sir, bakit? Kasi kung titignan nyo paano ba kinocompute ang cost of goods sold? Beginning inventory plus net purchases. Pag pinag-add natin yung dalawang yan, meron tayong cost of goods available for sale, then minus mo si ending inventory, meron kang cost of goods sold. So, titignan mo palagi itong tatlong to. Kaya nandyan sila. Diba? Ayan. So, bakit tig-dalawa sila? Kasi titignan mo kapag overstated beginning inventory, understated beginning inventory, ganun din sa purchases. Then sa ending inventory, ganun din. Okay? Marami kang titignan. So, saan natin i-analyze ito? Analyze natin yung effect ng mga over or understatement of these accounts to CGS, to the profit, and i-determine natin yung adjustment to profit. Already na. So, let's, Okay. Beginning inventory. Sa tingin nyo, ano ang effect ng beginning inventory sa CGS? Excuse me. Ano ang relationship ng beginning inventory sa cost of goods sold? Ano answer natin dyan? That is, direct, kasi naka-positive siya papunta kay cost of goods sold, diba? So, ano effect neto kay cost of goods sold? Overstated. Effect on profit? Effect on profit sa tingin nyo ano? Ano bang relationship ng cost of goods sold kay profit? Di ba ang cost of goods sold, expenses to? Ano ba ang relationship ng expenses sa profit? That is inverse. Okay? Inverse yan. Kaya, dahil overstated yung cost of goods sold mo, profit mo ay ma-understate. Ano magiging adjustment mo sa profit? That is, mag-a-add ka. Kasi, kulang, add. Gets? Alam na natin kung paano gagawin yung susunod. Beginning inventory is understated, CGS will be understated, profit will be overstated. What will be the adjustment to profit? Minus. Kuha? Okay. Guys, huwag kayong kabahan pagdating sa purchases ha. Kasi, kung titignan nyo, naka-positive ulit yung purchases patungong cost of goods sold. Kaya kung ano yung effect netong beginning inventory, parehong-pareho lang ang effect sa purchases. If the purchases is overstated CGS. Profit will be understated. Okay? Then, ano adjustment mo? Add sa profit. Okay? Next. Paano naman kung understated yung purchases? Di understated din yung cost of goods sold. Profit mo? Overstated. Adjustment will be minus. Next. Last one, ending inventory. Sa ending inventory, makikita nyo naka-negative na siya pag patungo ng CGS, di ba? So, ang ibig lang sabihin yan is inverse ang relationship ng ending inventory sa CGS. Pag inverse, baliktaran. Overstated ending inventory will lead to understatement of cost of goods sold, which will consequently lead to overstatement of profit. So, ano adjustment sa profit? Magma-minus ka. Okay? Then, pag ang ending inventory mo ay understated na, ano mangyari sa cost of goods sold? Kabaligtaran. Then, sa profit, okay, understated, adjustment will be add. Alright? So, nasundan so far. Ang tinitignan lang natin dito, profit. Okay? Profit lang yan. Kung sakaling tatanungin kayo, ano magiging adjustment to CGS, di kapag ang CGS mo sobra, magma-minus ka. Pag ang CGS mo kulang, mag-a-add ka. Magkabaliktad pa rin sila, di ba? So, sobra, bawas. Kulang, dagdag. Kulang, dagdag. Sobra, bawas. Are we all clear? Ganun lang. Mukha siya marami pero kakayanin niyo yung analysis niya. Basta alam niyo to. Okay? Sige. Problem 2 tayo. Problem 2, medyo maraming tanong na to Maraming tanong to. Marami yung kanyang content. Pero ang tinatanong lang, corrected 2019 through 2021 profit. So, kung paano natin ginawa yung problem 1, ganun lang din yung magiging yung pag-analyze. Okay? So, ganun din. Natin, starting point will be the reported profit for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So, starting point natin, nasaan? Hanapin natin nasaan yung mga profits. Nasa dulo. No? So, the company reported the following profit figures before any adjustments for the 3 years. Magkano reported profit 2019? Reported profit 2019 is 250,000, 2020 is 300, and 2021 will be 375. Okay. The first audit of the books of Amigo Corporation was made for the year ended December 31, 2021. In reviewing the books, the auditor discovered that certain adjustments had either been overlooked or improperly recorded at the end of the 3 years. Take note of the gross profit rate, 20% of sales. And we are given the summary of the omissions and other failures. Okay. The first error is the ending inventory is overstated as a result of the inclusion of goods held on consignment basis. So, ang first error natin is the overstatement of ending inventory. Okay. So, ang tinatanong lang naman sa atin, profit, di ba? So, magfo-focus lang kayo dun sa adjustment to profit ng guide natin kanina in the preceding slide. Okay? So, ganun din, 2019, 2020, and 2021 yan. Okay. Magkano yung overstatement ng ending inventory natin? That is 66,000. Sobra daw ending inventory natin. So, anong gagawin natin sa profit? That is, bawas. Okay? Bawas. Kaso, yung ending inventory mo ngayon, magiging beginning inventory ng next year. So, pagdating ng 2020, overstated beginning inventory mo. Tama? So, pag overstated ang beginning inventory mo, ma-overstate ang CGS, understated yung profit. So, ano gagawin? Add ka. O, diba? Ganun lang. Ano lang siya? Chain analysis. Nakuha ba? Tatandaan nyo, ang inventory kasi asset yan. Asset kasi yan, kaya naki-carry over. So, kung may pagkakamali ka last year, naki-carry over yung pagkakamali mo this year na rin. Alright? Next one. 2020, overstated na naman ending inventory mo ng 2020, edi, mag-minus ka lang. Tapos, since magiging beginning inventory siya ng 2021, mag-add back ka kasi sobra yung beginning inventory, sobra ang CGS, kulang ang profit. Para tumama ang profit, magdagdag ka. Okay? Sa 2021, the same lang gagawin mo. Mag-minus ka lang. O, diba? Ganun lang yung analysis natin for the first error. O, next error natin. Second, ending inventory is understated as a result of an error in the count. Okay. Understatement naman. So, kung anong ginawa mo dito sa first error, babaliktarin mo lang. Kasi overstatement yung first error eh. Ang second error, understatement na. Okay? So, 2019, kulang daw ending inventory mo. Pag kulang ang ending inventory mo, ano nangyari sa CGS mo? Sobra. Ano nangyari sa profit mo? Nakukulangan. Kaya, mag-add back ka. Kaso, ang ending inventory mo ngayon, magiging beginning inventory next year. So, dahil understated ending inventory mo ngayon at hindi mo na itama on time, understated din yung beginning inventory mo, which will lead to understatement of CGS and consequently magiging overstated yung profit ng 2020. So, anong gagawin natin sa profit ng 2020? Minus. Okay? Nakukuha. Baliktaran lang. 2020 tayo. 110,000, anong gagawin natin? Add back ng 2020, tapos minus ng 2021. The same logic kung bakit nagkaganon. 2021, mag-add back ka lang for 2021. Okay? Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, itong problem 2 natin, nakafocus siya sa inventory errors. Dapat ma-focus din natin to para mahasa yung analysis nyo sa pagko-correct ng inventory-related errors. Ayos tayo guys. Nakakasunod pa naman. Okay. Next. Third. Purchase of merchandise at the end of the year is not recorded until payment is made for the goods in the following year. The goods purchased were included in the inventory at the end of the year. Okay. Analyze muna natin. Tingnan natin kung ano yung error talaga. Sabi, hindi daw nagre-record ng purchase itong si company hanggat hindi bayad, 'di ba? Pero yung mga binili niyang goods naka-include na sa inventory. Okay? So ibig sabihin, pag naka-record na siya as part of the inventory count, meaning nakarating na kay company yung goods. So kung i-analyze natin, dapat talaga may dapat may purchases na talaga siya, 'di ba? Yun nga lang, hindi niya nire-record as purchases hanggat hindi bayad. Kumbaga, para siyang accrued expense. Nakuha niyo yung logic ko doon. Para siyang accrued expense. 'Di ba? So, anong gagawin natin dito? Anong tawag natin sa error na to? Understatement of purchases. So, purchases naman ang focus natin. Okay. 2019. Dahil hindi ka nag-record ng purchases, na understate purchases mo, ano nangyari sa CGS mo? na understate. E di ano nangyayari sa profit? Overstated. So, magma-minus ka. Okay? Magma-minus ka. Then, ano mangyari sa year 2020? Maki-carry over ba yung error? Answer is yes. Kasi, yung mga purchases mo ng 2019, mababayaran ng 2020 at doon mare-record yung purchases niya. So, dahil nag-record ka ng purchases ng 2020 na pang 2019, ano mangyayari sa purchases ng 2020? Overstated. Ano mangyayari sa CGS? Overstated. Ano mangyayari sa profit? Understated. So, what will be the corresponding adjustment? Add back. Okay? Next one. 2020. Ganun lang din. Minus, add. The same logic. 2021, minus lang. Ayos tayo ha. So, ayan ha. So, si purchases lang ang may problema dito. Yung ending inventory, walang problema kasi talagang dapat inventory na yan ng company. Kasi nasa kanila na eh. Diba? Next one. Goods shipped to consignee were reported as sales in the year of shipment. The goods in the hand of the consignee at the end of the year were not included in the year-end inventory, and the given figures are in selling price. Okay. Analyze muna natin ano ang error natin dito. Ano ang error natin dito sa sumunod? Number 1, yung mga pinadala mong goods kay consignee, ginawa mo na agad as sales. Pero, ano ba dapat ang tamang treatment dyan? Dapat bang sales? No. Kasi ang consignee, agent yan, no? Hindi mo pa talaga binibenta yung goods kay agent. Magkakaroon lang ng sales kapag etong si consignee, nabenta niya na itong mga goods sa customer mismo or sa final consumer. Pero since nasa kamay niya pa, hindi mo pa talaga dapat sales yan. Okay? Then, that's the first error. The second error naman, dahil lang nakay-consignee yung goods, hindi mo na in-include sa ending inventory mo. But since you are the consigner in this case, sa'yo yung ownership ng inventory, not with the consignee. Tandaan niyo yan ha. Pag consignment, ang ownership ng consigned goods rest with the consignor, not with the consignee. Si consignee kasi tagahawak lang yan pero wala sa kanya yung ownership eh. Yung sa'yo, nasa yung ownership. So, paano natin itatama yung dalawang errors? Ayan. So, tawagin na lang natin siya erroneous recording of the consigned goods. 2019 muna. Nireport mo as sales, tama? So, kailangan mo muna i-reverse yung sales. 200,000. Okay? I-reverse mo yung sales, 200,000. Next, hindi mo in-include as part of your ending inventory. So, anong nangyayari? Ending inventory mo, understated. Ano nangyayari sa profit mo? Understated. So, dapat magdagdag ka ng magkano? 200 ba? No. Yung 200 kasi selling price. How do you value your inventory? Usually at cost. Tama? Usually at cost dapat. So, how do we compute for the cost? Balikan mo yung gross profit rate mo sa simula. Magkano yun? 20%. Pero gross profit nga ba kailangan natin? No. Ang kailangan natin, cost ratio. How do you compute for the cost ratio? 100% minus gross profit rate. So, 100 minus 20 is 80%. So, how much is the 80% of 200? Add back 160. Okay? Ganun lang. Ayaw ko siyang i-shortcut to gross profit lang kasi nakakalito yun guys. Kasi hindi nyo alam kung i-add ko ba yan or i-minus. At least dito, makikita nyo kung alin yung minus ko, alin yung in-add ko. Tapos ang net effect niya is, nag-minus talaga tayo ng gross profit na 40,000. Which is, 200,000 times 20%. Okay? Nakuha So, yung net effect, kayo na bahala dun. Basta ako, papakita ko yung long method niya. Next. Tapos na ba yung 2019 error natin? Not yet. Ang assumption natin, etong 2019 consigned goods ay mabibenta in the next year, which is 2020. So, dapat, yung 200,000 na yan, dyan mo lang i-record as sales 2020. Then, yung 160 Since understated ang ending inventory mo, magiging understated beginning inventory na 2020 kasi nagke-carry over ang ending inventory ng 2019 as beginning inventory of 2020. Nakuha nyo? Kaya ang mangyari dyan, dahil overstated yung profit ng 2020, magmaminus ka. Baliktaran. Okay? Medyo mas nakakapigana ng utak itong sumunod nating error, no? Dapat alam nyo rin yung ganitong klase ng error. Comprehensive siya. Okay? Sige. 2020. The same na ang gagawin nyo. Mag-minus ka muna ng sales, mag-add back ka ng ending inventory mo, which is 80% of the selling price. Okay? Then sa 2021, reverse mo sila. Yung 240,000 sales, dyan mo lang i-record. Tapos yung 192,000, understatement of beginning inventory. 2021 natin. Ganun lang. Minus mo muna yung sales na 400,000, tapos add back ka ng inventory mo. Clear? Okay? Nakakatakot yung itong error na to, no? Okay? Kasi kapag magkamali ka lang ng isa dito, babay ka na eh. Okay? Sige. Next one. A sale of merchandise at the end of the year is not recorded until cash is received for the goods in the following year. The goods sold were excluded from the inventory at the end of the year. Okay, tignan natin ano yung error. Hindi daw muna ni-record yung sale ng merchandise hanggat hindi natatanggap yung cash. So mukhang pera na naman tong si company dito, no? Pero since nabenta niya na yan, kailangan mo na i-record yung sales. So ang error natin dito is the sales. Si sales lang ba ang error? Answer, tignan natin yung sumunod. The goods sold were excluded from the inventory. Tama bang i-exclude na? Answer, yes, kasi nabenta na yan. Okay? So ano lang talaga error? That is the sales. No? Erroneous or unrecorded sales. So for 2019, ang gagawin mo lang is record mo yung sales, 40,000, pero since ni-record niya itong sales na to ng 2020 kung kailan natanggap yung pera, pakitanggal lang. Kasi ililipat mo pabalik sa 2019. Okay? Sir, what about the related merchandise? Hindi na ba i-add back? Hindi na. Kasi tama na eh. Tama nang excluded siya sa inventory. Kasi nabenta na. Klaro ba tayo? Ganun lang. Okay? 2020. The same procedure. Record mo na yung 84,000, pero tanggalin mo yung 84,000 dun sa 2021. Then sa 2021, record mo na si 69,000. Ayos? Diba? Tapos natin yung mga inventory errors. Next one, bonus na lang ito. Kumbaga, ito yung hindi na-cover ng problem number 1. Tignan nyo This time, ordinary repairs to equipment had been recognized as additions or capitalized as part of the equipment, but should have been recognized as expense. In determining the depreciation, the company applies a rate of 10% to the balance on the equipment at the end of the year. Okay. Ano error dito? Erroneous capitalization. So, yung sa problem 1 kanina, di ba, erroneous expense na dapat kinapitalize. Ito naman, erroneous capitalization. Kinapitalize pero dapat expense. So, paano natin itatama ito? First, kailangan nating i-record agad yung ordinary repairs expense each year. So, magkano yung 2019? Minus 42,500 ka, minus 47,000 ng 2020, then minus 52,000 2021. Sir, tapos na ba? Not yet. Bakit? Since nagkaroon ka ng erroneous capitalization, magkakamali ka rin sa depreciation because of this. Erroneous depreciation sila. Ilang porsyento? 10%. Walang problema. Yung 42,500, mag-a-add back ka lang each year. In-add back mo lang sa profit. Kasi nagkaroon siya ng erroneous depreciation. Di, add back mo lang yung mga erroneous expenses. Di ba? The same explanation sa problem number 1 natin, kaya ganito rin dito, no? Since kinapitalize mo yan, every year na de-depreciate siya, pero hindi dapat. Kaya add back mo na. Next, 47,000, starting 2020 until 2021, add back mo. Then, last one, yung 52,000 mo, add back mo lang for year 2021. Ayos? Ganun lang. Then, how much will be the corrected profits? Oh, sagutin na natin ha. Number 1, magkano? That is 205,750. Number 2, 275,950. And number 3, 312,150. So, number 1, number 2, number 3. Malinaw tayo so far? Yan na yung sagot. Tapos na. Tapos na yung problem 2 natin. And, problem number 3 na tayo. Okay? Kung hindi nyo nakuha yung sagot, pwede nyo naman i-pause or i-rewind, then i-pause nyo. Okay? Problem 3 tayo, no? Ang tinatanong sa problem 3, similar siya sa problems 1 and 2. Di ba? Ayan, corrected profit 2019, corrected profit 2020, total effect of errors on working capital. Okay. So, ganun pa rin, tables lang ang gagawin natin dito. Starting point will be the reported profit kasi yan yung itatama natin, di ba? So, 2019, 505,000. Saan makita? Ayun, nasa simula. Then, 2020, magkano? 387,000. Letter A. Rent of 26,000 for 2021 was received by the company from one of its lessees on December 30, 2020 and recorded as outright income in 2020. So, ano yung mali ng letter A natin? Erroneous rent income. Yung 26,000 na yan, dapat pang 2021 yung profit, di ba? Kaso, anong ginawa ni company? Ginawa niyang income ng 2020. So, ano gagawin natin sa 2020? Bawasan mo lang. Hindi tayo abot ng 2021, no? Hanggang 2020 lang to. So, bawas lang sa 2020. Na, next, letter B. During the year 2020, the company sold for 18,500 fully depreciated equipment that originally cost 110,000. The proceeds from sale were credited to the equipment account. Okay. Meron tayong tinatawag na erroneous gain dito. Bakit? Ganito analyze natin. Sa letter B, ang ginawa ni client, ang sabi lang kasi is, yung proceeds from sale were credited to the equipment account. Tama ba ako? So, ang ginawa niya, debit, cash. 18,500, credit, equipment. 18,500. Now, kung ikaw, ano sa tingin mo ang entry neto? Tawagin natin siyang per audit. Sa tingin nyo, ano ang dapat maging entry natin dito? That is, debit ka ng cash, 18,500. Okay? Then, debit ka ng accumulated depreciation. Mamaya na nating amount, no? Then, credit equipment. Alright? Now, titignan nyo paano natin malalaman kung ano yung balanse ng dalawang to? Yung equipment, at cost yan. So, dapat naka-credit yan at 110,000. But since the equipment is already fully depreciated, meaning, wala na siyang carrying amount. Pag fully depreciated yung equipment, the cost or the accumulated depreciation will be simply equal to its cost. So, ang accumulated depreciation is 110,000. So, yung 18,500 na yan ay buong gain dapat. No? Dapat buong gain yan. Okay. Now, kung makikita nyo kasi yung entry ni client, wala tayong makitang gain. Pero dapat may gain tayo. So, sa tingin nyo, ano magiging audit adjusting entry natin for this? Debit? Debit ka ng? Ano debit natin? Debit? Accumulated depreciation, 110,000. Okay? Kasi wala tayong nakitang accumulated. Ano pa? Credit, equipment. Sir, may nakikita naman akong equipment sa entry ni client. Oo, pero kulang yung kanyang credit sa equipment. Magkano yung kulang? 110,000 minus 18,500, that is 91,500. Then, papasok mo na si gain. 18,500. Ayos? Oh, dahil nagpasok ka ng gain, dapat ay mag-add ka ng gain sa 2020 since during 2020 binenta to. May unrecorded gain ka kasi, no? O, para mabawasan yung pagkahilo natin, wag na natin tawagin erroneous but unrecorded na lang. Ayan, mas okay yung unrecorded gain. Tama ba ako? Okay. O, next, letter C tayo. In recording the interest expense for both 2019 and 2020 on bonds, the entity's accountant made the following entry on an annual basis. Debit interest expense, credit cash. So, ibig sabihin, ang nire-record niya lang na interest expense ay equal sa amount of cash paid for interest, di ba? The bonds have a face value of 1.25 million, pay a nominal rate of 6%. They were issued at a discount of 75,000 on January 1, 2019 to yield an effective rate of 7%. Usually, how do we compute interest expense on liabilities? By using effective interest method. So, alam natin may mali agad yung interest expense ni client dito, di ba? So, computein muna natin. Kailangan natin gawa ng amortization schedule to. Nominal interest, effective interest, amortization, then the carrying value of bonds. Nominal rate natin 6%, tama? Next one, ang effective rate is 7%. Sa tingin nyo, ano yung i-amortize natin dito? Discount premium. Obviously, discount ito. Kasi nakasabi naman siya sa problem, di ba? Tama naman, may discount kasi mas mataas yung effective rate. Diba? Ayan. So, sa intermediate accounting nyo ito nakakuha kasi ito, correction of errors, pang audit ito Diba? So, dapat alam nyo itong mga concepts na to. Okay? Sige. January 1, 2019, magkano ang initial ang initial carrying amount of the bonds? That is 1.25 million minus 75,000. Ayan. So, yan ang starting point natin. December 31, 2019, nominal interest. Paano kinocompute ang nominal interest? Face times nominal rate. Diba? Effective rate, paano naman natin yan kukumpitin? CV of the bonds times effective rate of 7%. Walang problema kasi 12 months naman talaga to. So, how much is the discount amortization? Okay, 7,250. Anong effect ng discount amortization sa CV? Add. Then, for the last time, computein ulit natin. Effective interest, 82,757.5. Okay? Then, amortization will be, okay, then CV. Pero hindi na natin kailangan kasi talaga itong mga to, no? Ito lang naman kailangan natin, guys. Yan lang. Next. Correct interest expense, compare natin sa recorded interest, makukuha na natin yung magiging adjustment. Sa 2019, correct interest, 82,250. Magkano ni-record? 75. So, 7,250. Anong tawag natin dyan sa 7,250? That is, take note ang recorded interest mo mas mababa sa tama. So, understated ang expense mo. Ano mangyayari sa profit? Overstated. Okay? Overstated si profit. Then, sa 2020 natin, correct interest, 82,757.5 versus 75,000 recorded. Meron ka na namang overstatement na 7,757.5. Ayos? Ang tawag natin dito is non-counterbalancing. Ayan. Pasok natin siya. Since overstatement yan ng profit, kailangan mong bawasan yung profit mo. Malinaw na tayo, guys. Okay? Diba? Pagdating sa correction of errors, kumbaga para siyang summary ng buong intermediate accounting. 1, 2, and 3 or financial accounting reporting. Okay? Letter dog tayo. A 75,000 insurance premium paid on July 1, 2019 for a policy that expires on June 30, 2021 was charged to insurance expense. Okay. Ano ang error? Yung buong 75,000, chinarge niya na agad as insurance expense noong 2019. Pero, pag ganito, 2 years ang insurance, tama? Kasi 2019 to 2021 yan, 2 years. So, dapat kinalat niya yan over 2 years. So, how do we correct the error? Kailan niya ginawa expense? 2019. So, paki-add back yung 75,000 muna, then, i-record natin yung tamang insurance expense ng 2019. Magkano dapat yon? So, that should be 75,000 divided by 2 years. Pero, July 1 to December 31 lang yan, times 6 over 12 mo. So, magkano? 18,750. Diba? Then, sa 2020, full year. Full year yung insurance expense. Kasi, from January 1 to December 31, 2020 yan. Klaro? Ulitin ko ha. First, in-add back muna natin yung 75,000 na insurance expense. Pero hindi dapat yan expense in full. Tapos, ni-record ko yung tamang insurance expense ng 2019, tapos 2020. Okay? O, letter E. O, accrued salaries, omissions na naman. Kayang-kaya na natin to. Na-omit daw at the end of 2019, edi, gawin natin expense, tapos add back natin yan sa 2020. Tapos, ganun din. Yung sa 2020, 10,000 mo, minus mo lang sa 2020. Kasi dapat expense na yan kung kailan na incur. Letter F. Unused office supplies, 12,000 and 15,000 at the end of 2019 and 2020 were omitted. Pag sinabi nating office supplies, this is a variant of prepaid expenses. Okay? Oh, unused office supplies omitted. So, most likely, sana i-record yan. Expenses. So, for 2019, add back mo yung 12,000, minus mo yung 12,000 ng 2020. Kasi, since unused siya as of the end of 2019, magagamit siya during 2020, magiging expense. Okay? Then, yung 15,000, unused, add back mo muna. Okay? Are we all clear? Ayan. Sige. So, okay na tayo. Nakuha na natin. Oh, last one. Letter G. Dividends of 20, 30, 40 had been declared 2018 to 2020 but were not recorded until paid the following year. Sa tingin nyo, may effect ba yung dividends sa profit? Answer is none. Wala effect. Kaya wala tayong i-record. Okay? So wala kasi yung mga dividends saan yan nakaka-apekto? Retained earnings. Okay? Oh. Number 1, what's the corrected profit 2019? Paki-summarize. 558,500. Number 2, corrected profit 2020, 334,742. So, ito na yung number 1, number 2 natin. O, next. Working capital na lang. O, alam nyo na kung ano yung nasa working capital. Current items lang. Okay? O, alin dyan yung mga current items? Letter A, is that a current item? Answer is, yes. That is a current liability. So, dapat kasali yan dyan. Yung letter B, is that a current item? No. Gain yan eh. Unrecorded gain yan. Next, letter C, is that a current item? No. Related siya sa saan? Sa long-term bonds. Next, erroneous insurance expense. Is this a part of current items? Yes, that is a current asset, prepaid insurance. So, kasali siya. Then, babawasan mo siya ng mga nagdaan na or na utilize ng portion. So, 18,750 plus 37,500, 56,250. So, magkano na lang talaga yung natitira? Tignan natin na. 75,000 minus 56,250. Okay. 18,750. Tama ba? For the last 6 months na lang siya? Yes. Unrecorded salaries, kasali? Yes, but not the 2019 one, but the 2020. Omitted office supplies, similar case, 2020 lang. Okay? Tapos na ba? Tapos na ba? Sir, yes. Tapos na po. Kasi wala namang effect yung dividend sa profit eh. Answer is mali. Wala ngang effect sa profit yung dividends. Pero kasi kung titignan nyo, sa simula, dinedeclare siya. Pero, kailan siya binabayaran? The following year. So, ibig sabihin, merong current liability related sa dividends. So, wag niyong kakalimutan ha, nakakainis yung ganong klaseng error. Malapit ka na matapos, nagkamali ka pa sa dulo. 'Di ba? Oh. Yung 2018-2019, wag mo nang tignan kasi bayad na eh as of December 31, 2020 yan. Ang problema natin yung 2020. Bakit? Kasi hindi pa yan bayad. Therefore, dahil na-declare pero hindi bayad, current liability siya. So, magre-record ka pa ng current liability on dividends. Wala ngang effect sa profit pero may effect siya sa working capital as a form of current liability. So what do you think will be the answer for number 3? That is 26,000 negative plus 75,000 minus 56,250 minus 10,000 plus 15,000 minus 40,000. That will be 42,250. Pag naka-negative, ano yan? Overstated. So, tapos na natin yung problem number 3, guys. Yan ay mga sagot natin. Alright? And that's the end of our lesson on correction of errors. So, thank you for listening. No, I hope you have appreciated our discussion on correction of errors. Don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button for the next uploads. So, thank you very much.